Let's bring in now our next guest to talk about this. Also, some other developments happening as well in Turkey. Pleased to have President of Project Sentinel and 2020 Trump campaign National Security Advisor, retired Army Lieutenant Colonel Tony Shaffer, and also Strategic Director of Concerns Veterans for Americans, U.S. Marine Corps and Army National Guard veteran John Byrnes. Thank you, guys. Great to be with both of you today as we discuss this. All right, so this Syrian situation, obviously it wasn't on anyone's bingo card. We knew it was unstable, but there were sanctions that were going to be lifted. There was a hope they'd join the Abraham Accords. Now you have Barack suggesting that Israel wants to see a divided Syria. How do we sort of tamp down some of the, escalation here, Tony, and have it be part of, a wider conversation that President Trump so much wants to have with Benjamin Netanyahu in a more stable Middle East?
Well, there's three players that have to come to an agreement outside of Syria, and that's Erdogan, President Erdogan of Turkey, Benjamin Netanyahu of the Israeli effort, and President Trump. The president of Syria so far has not been, I would say, an arbiter of good faith. Yes, he said the right thing, but as Zach pointed out and you pointed out, those below him are not actually following through. They're not protecting the minorities. And we see on a daily basis Christians, Druze, and others being targeted. So that's why the Israelis felt the need to act. That's something the United States was not happy about because, as you see, we're trying to get to a consensus of how to fix this. And Bianca, as Mr. Barack said, there's no plan B. This is it. If this doesn't work, you're going to see Syria become a failed state like Libya. That's something everybody does not want to see.
No, of course not. President Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu, John, have a very good relationship. Obviously much better than Joe Biden. I mean, that we are allies with Israel. He's given them, even when before our strikes in Iran, they let, obviously Israel go forward and take the lead on this. So what discussions do you think are happening back channel between Netanyahu and President Trump as they look to sort of achieve their goals here? Obviously, eradicating Hamas is also on Netanyahu's goals, but having a more stable Middle East, including, having stability in Syria.
Well, to the question of how do they back channel it, I think the first thing we have to realize is that the interests are not identical. The U.S. has a vested interest right now in Syrian stability because we're finally at a point where we can start to reduce our footprint there. We've been in Syria too long for what's essentially a peripheral interest for us. Israel certainly has an interest in their kind of proxy factors within Syria stepping up. Obviously, the leadership of Syria is unstable. It's wobbly right now. But the big picture is that, as we've been saying at Concerned Veterans for America for months now, what we don't want to see is a greater regional conflict in the Middle East. And the U.S. really needs to walk the line with that and make sure that we don't get pulled in at a time where we're actually on the brink of being able to get our troops out of the Middle East.
Right. And also, we're in with Ukraine and Russia. There are weapons going over there, the Patriot systems. And today there were negotiators in Istanbul, Turkey. We showed some of the video there of the teams arriving. So they sit down face to face the first time in, 7 weeks. But the third round, Tony, we've discussed this very low optimism for this meeting. But there's dialogue, and there's this 50-day, deadline before sanctions come in. It seems like Putin, maybe dragging it out, but it's a dangerous game with a very fragile Russian economy that he has to his domestic audience. Your take?
Well, it's a very dangerous situation because at this point, Russia is on the move. They're continuing to gain ground, slowly but surely. And the response from us and NATO has been slow. All the Abrams tanks we gave them, they're gone, except for, I think, 2. The Australians have been asked to step up and send some of theirs, which they will. We have the drone warfare going on. Russia's producing 1,000 drones a day, Bianca, 1,000 a day. So it's not going to get any better for Ukraine, even if we send Patriot missile batteries, which we plan to do. The only possible solution for both sides to stop the fighting and killing is a negotiated settlement. And it's good that they met. I'm skeptical that any real progress came out of this, unfortunately. And I think, to your point, Putin's going to drag it out to the end of the 50 days.
Talks will potentially go on until Friday. John, what is your sense of what may be the ultimate outcome, if it is not a ceasefire, but perhaps just another prisoner swap, maybe a future date to meet?
As Tony said, the best outcome is a negotiated settlement, one that happens as fast as possible. I think the most likely kind of plan for all sides to kind of agree on eventually would be an armed and neutral Ukraine. That's certainly what Concerned Veterans for America has been driving about. The Patriot missile situation is really problematic. The Israelis are asking for more. The Ukrainians want more. We're selling some to the Europeans so that they can provide the Ukrainians with them. We need those for other places where we have interest. We saw Patriots defend U.S. troops in the Mideast just last month. Obviously, there's a need for them in the Pacific region, and we're only producing 600 annually. So we can't be giving away or even selling to allies to forward through Patriot missiles at a time where we're not stepping up our production at home. So for America's sake, the best outcome here is a negotiated settlement. We got to stop drawing down our stocks of important weapons.
Great comments by both of you. I hope to see you back here soon. Lieutenant Colonel Tony Shaffer, John Byrnes, appreciate you, gentlemen.
Thanks, Bianca.